There's stables that run along the scar on my dad's head. He struggles finding the right words and keeps a pad and paper close by. By writing the word out, he is able to find it more easily than relying on speech alone. We're sitting now. Football is playing on mute on the TV. There's a beeping sound. It goes off once an hour or so. It might be a sensor on the door that's broken or something like that. I'll try to see if I can fix it tomorrow. My mom is filing her nails down. Now that my dad is sick, she doesn't want to keep getting her nails done. I went to the grocery store to get some ingredients for the soup I'm making, fresh ginger and coconut milk. I also bought some floss sticks that were on sale and some soap that was also on sale. My dad is watching an old show on TV. It's one with Michael J. Fox when he's a teenager. I can't remember what it's called. I don't know if they still make shows like this. These types of shows that are meant for a family to watch together, to connect in a way that seems like it is about sentiment rather than the desperate mass approval that seems to be so prevalent today. We had dinner. My mom made steak and mushrooms. Having steak on a Sunday with them, it reminded me of growing up. Afterwards, we watched a TV show. It was about fighter pilots in World War II. I was really looking forward to it and really enjoyed it, getting to watch a show with my dad. He held a book in front of him the whole time. Still, I thought he was enjoying it. After it ended, he told me his story about his Uncle Dave, who was in the Air Force. He wrote down the word navigator, afternoon, and Germany on his pad as he talked. I'll probably sit here in this chair for most of the day, trying to write through. My mom will continue to knit, counting the stitches in her wool. She's working hard to finish a new sweater for Nora. My dad and I are sitting with our laptops in front of the fire. I'm in the chair by the window where I ordinarily sit, and he is on the couch where he ordinarily sits. My mom has gone upstairs to get ready. The sun is not up yet. There are no cars on the road. There's a harshness to the air here. It seems less forgiving than in Toronto. I made breakfast, 2 boiled eggs, an apple, and a cup of coffee. My dad had the same, but with 2 pieces of toast and peanut butter. We were watching the news. There's a fire in the city. My dad said it's close to where he used to live. My mom has gone back to her knitting. She's listening to an audiobook. My dad is still watching the TV and eating his apple. I'm sitting here near the window. The sun still has not come up. My dad is sleeping on the couch now. The local news is still playing on mute. My mom's listening to her audiobook and knitting. It's been an hour and the sun is just beginning to reveal itself, the black sky becoming something of a blue. I helped my dad set up a scanner that he bought for his computer. It's a nice machine. It's compact and can scan anything from a business card to a full sheet of paper. I set up a folder on his desktop that the scans will automatically save to. Despite his illness, I see him looking towards the future with this gadget, this compact scanner. It's a good little machine, and it only does one thing. It scans. Unlike most of the scanners that seem to be out there, these behemoth machines that print and scan and cause endless trouble. This machine folds up to be quite small. It keeps to itself until it is needed. It does its job and then goes back to minding its own business. Afterward, I took a shower. I used the new soap that I bought yesterday. I think that it's better than the soap I have at home in Toronto. I'll probably switch to this brand now. I suppose it's good. Miriam sent me a video of Nora laughing in a swing in the park. This is her first time being in a swing, and somehow she understands that it is fun. It is similar to when I lift her over my head and drop her down quickly. For some reason, she laughs. Maybe this idea that she is facing some kind of danger, or the strangeness of how it feels to drop or move quickly in a way that is beyond her ability or her capacity. In another picture of Nora that Miriam sent, if you zoom in, you can see her front 2 bottom teeth starting to sprout up. One day I will tell Nora about this time where I had to be away from her when she was small to go be with my dad when he was diagnosed with glioblastoma. I'll have to explain to her, somehow, that there was a tumor that grew in his brain that the doctors had to go in and cut out. I don't have much experience talking with kids to understand what their capacity for understanding is. I'll learn from Nora. She will teach me how our minds develop. She will teach me how we learn to understand the world. My dad is writing words down on his pad of paper, writing down the things from around the room. He can say most of the words: pillow, yarn, Calgary, Toronto, painting. He cannot say the word scissors or watermelon. It seems his brain cannot make the connection from his mouth to articulate the word. He knows what it is and how it sounds, but the connection has been lost. We're sitting now. My dad is eating his lunch. The news is playing in the background. There was a drone strike in the Middle East that killed 3 people. As my mother knits, she falls in and out of naps, watching 2 men in suits, one wearing a red tie and one wearing a blue tie. They're discussing their thoughts on border patrol and immigration. As I sit and stitch words into sentences and count the lines in each paragraph that I write, I can see a similarity of these small hand movements, her with her needles and me with my keyboard. We dropped off some meatballs and raspberries at my sister's house on the way to the grocery store. We wore our hiking boots so we wouldn't slip on the ice. There was construction on 2 of the intersections we passed. I bought a coffee on the way and drank it as we walked. My mom pointed out which restaurant she liked and which she didn't. At the grocery store, we got some apples, an onion, cottage cheese, bananas, and milk. We came home and I got to talk to Nora and Miriam on video chat for a while. Nora was eating yogurt and prune juice. We kept laughing at the sour face she was making from the yogurt. She banged her fist on the table of her high chair until Miriam gave her some blueberries to snack on. My dad is trying to check his glucose levels. The machine pricks your finger and is supposed to be able to check your blood. He's run out of patience trying to use it. Tomorrow his brother will come over and show him how to use it. Now he's eating an orange that my mom got for him. The news is on. They're talking about what is going on in the Middle East. It seems that the news channels have a way of keeping my focus in this numb kind of state. The information they're delivering is unclear to me for the most part. When I watch the news, my expectation is to have a better understanding of what's going on in the world. That is not the result. Instead, I only become more confused. It may be true that I'm a complete idiot and do not have the capacity to understand how the world works enough to take in the news. Or it may be true that delivering information is not the intention of these programs. It seems they are always kicking the can down the road. We go to the hospital tomorrow. They will take the staples from my dad's head. We went to the park across the street from the house to meet my sister. My dad sat on the bench wearing his hood. He didn't say very much. After about a half an hour, he walked up the street to get a bit of exercise. I followed behind him. He didn't say anything. He just walked ahead. Eventually, he turned around and went home. I followed him into the house. He sat down on the couch, turned on the news, and began reading his book. I opened the blinds so that he could see everyone, my mom, sister, brother-in-law, and their 2 kids. There was a tree that blocked the view of them for the most part. I stared at a box of onion soup mix that had expired in 2019. I put it onto the ground, next to a bag of grain or whatever it was. When my mom came home, I went for a walk to get a coffee. I wanted to stay at home and write, but I thought I could use the exercise and some time to myself. The sun had melted a lot of the snow. The roads were covered in slush and puddles. I walked the same way that I had walked with Miriam and Nora when we were here a few weeks ago. I looked at the trees and the river and the open prairie sky. The beauty of it all is clear, but still it felt vacant to me for the most part. I called Miriam. She couldn't talk for long. She had just put Nora down and needed to catch up on her work. I walked through the park drinking my coffee. There was a woman whose dog kept running wild and she kept yelling at him. I put my coffee on a bench and waited for them to pass out of sight. I looked down at the river. I remembered years ago when Miriam and I were down there trying to figure out how to get back up to where I was. My uncle came over and tried to help my dad with his glucose reader but couldn't figure it out. Once dinner was ready, I sat looking at the skyline and recounted the day. I had a last-minute thought that there wasn't as much green in the meal as there should be. I took some frozen spinach and put it into the pasta sauce. I portioned the noodles into bowls. My mom told me that she wasn't hungry. I gave her 2 meatballs instead of 3 like I served for me and my dad. I told her to eat what she could, and if she couldn't finish it, we would just save it for lunch tomorrow. My dad didn't say anything for the entire meal, but I was happy to see that he ate everything in his bowl. He asked my mom if he should drink a glass of milk. She told him that he could, if he wanted to. She asked me how much milk was left. I said 1 full carton, the one we bought yesterday. He poured himself a glass of milk and then went to the couch and began reading his book again. When we were washing the dishes, I looked over and saw that he had lowered his book and was watching a show. It was some sitcom. He was smiling some. I was grateful to see that. It was the only time I'd seen him smile that day. My mom washed most of the dishes while I put all the leftovers in containers and put them in the fridge. I went back upstairs to try to write again. I saw a delivery truck pull up to the house. I looked at its headlights and for some reason I thought it looked fake, like it was a toy. It idled there for a while. Eventually an old man came out holding what looked like a bouquet of flowers. He walked up to our doorstep and rang the doorbell. I yelled down to my mom that it was flowers. She waited until he left to open the door. It was the 3rd bouquet that showed up today. When the first 2 came, my dad said, "I don't need those," and it's true, he didn't. They would just sit there on the counter as reminders that he was unwell, as reminders that something was out of the ordinary. They made his sickness feel like a reality. This 3rd bouquet was made of fruit. Some of the pieces were dipped in chocolate. We were watching football the day before. There was a Snickers logo on the announcer's desk. He turned to me and told me that he hates that shit, and he doesn't eat those kinds of things. I was impressed, in a way, by his anger towards the chocolate bar. I never cared about Snickers bars. I was always more partial to Mars bars, but after hearing him say that in his honor, I will probably never eat a Snickers bar ever again. They're going to remove the staples from his head. I don't know how long it will take or if it will be painful for him. After that's done, we'll find out what the next steps are, how the treatment will proceed. When we get home, we will eat the leftover spaghetti and meatballs for lunch. Maybe I will go visit my sister and pick up more milk from the grocery store. I hope that it's a quiet day. I hope that my dad will have the space to rest and not deal with anything he doesn't want to deal with. I will go sit with him now. He asked me what I write about. He couldn't say the word write, so he made the motion with his hand. I told him that I write about what I think about, to try to get my thoughts in order. He told me that the laptop he bought has been working well for him. There's a news story about a man that hit a deer on the highway. His insurance company is giving him the runaround. He says that his truck is worth 10 grand, but they were only offering him 5. They're showing some traffic jam on a street I've never heard of. The cars are inching along, most of them blurry in the distance. They've cut to a commercial break now. I need to get a new battery for the sensor in the garage door. Afterward, I went to my sister's house. Her baby slept in her bassinet. We took the baby in the stroller and went to the drugstore. They didn't have the battery that I needed from the garage door. I'll have to go somewhere else tomorrow. My mom was on the phone with the doctor's office. They're telling her where to park for my dad's next appointment. It will be next Thursday. He's lying on the couch, exhausted. We will go to Costco again tomorrow to make sure they have lots of food here for next week when I'm gone. My dad is practicing his writing and speech on the couch. He writes out words on yellow sticky notes and sounds them out as he goes along. I think he's just writing whatever comes to mind, but I'm not exactly sure. My mom is sitting, listening to something in her headphones. She's knitting and writing text messages and taking small naps. I'm grateful to have been able to spend the time here at home with my mom and dad during this time. I wasn't sure we'd ever get this kind of quality time again. Things are okay for today. My dad turned to me and asked me how to spell kitchen. Earlier he asked me how to spell Sunday. We watched Monty Python last night. There were some good laughs. His favorite is one of a Mountie who sings a song about being a transvestite. Afterward we watched The Fugitive, which he really enjoyed. I remember watching that movie together when I was a kid. I'm grateful to have gotten to watch that movie together last night. That was always my favorite thing to do with him growing up. There was a certain feeling when we both liked the same movie, but I felt like I really connected with him. There's something about the plot of that movie, how he's a doctor using his wit to fight for the truth and to defend his wife's honor. I can't imagine a movie more well suited to my dad than that. A story about outsmarting the police to prove to them what justice is, proving the corruption of the medical community, and doing it all for the honor and memory of your wife. I'm messaging with Miriam. She said a little girl came to the door selling almond cookies as a fundraiser for her choir. Miriam bought a box. I think she's probably putting Nora to bed now. My dad is meeting with his accountant. When he's done, we will go make our supper. We're going to have some steaks and Caesar salad. Afterwards, we'll watch some TV, and then I'll go upstairs to pack. We are sitting now. He's watching the news and my mom is knitting. My dad says that he's through with the sugar-free bread that he's been eating. The Ukrainians need more rockets to fight against Russia. They're sending the first Canadian to the moon. My dad is napping now.